It's a pleasure to be speaking with you, my friends. Today is Monday, September 12, 2016, and in these videos we talk about life. We talk about the dance of life, the beauty of life. We talk about the correlation between all things that is life. So this is, of course, astrology. Astrology is simply the observation of life. And as we observe life and we realize that life is really a divine symphony, we start to see the synchronicities and the connections between all things. As above, so below, as within, so without. We notice this divine symphony happening in these huge, massive instruments going on in these planetary gongs, planetary percussion. And this is reflected in our world, in our bodies, in our emotional, mental, physical experience. Everything is life. Everything has this rhythm, has this heartbeat, and has this synchronistic connection to all and everything else. And this is the realization that comes through observation, which is, again, all that astrology is. Observing patterns. Patterns is life. Patterns is math, science. Everything is this divine orchestra, divine flow, divine dance. And so we're going to talk a lot about this with an approaching lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. And Pisces is the zodiac sign, the final sign of the zodiac, which archetypally represents this divine flow, this divine dance, which inevitably everything returns to at the end of the day. So, first of all, let's all pat ourselves on the back for being halfway through September. September is one of the most exciting, intense, transformative, potentially uncomfortable months of 2016. And so there's a lot that is shifting around. We have the eclipse season going on this month, Mercury retrograde going on this month, Saturn square to Neptune, exact 2 days ago, going on this month. So this is one of these times where, yeah, we can talk about the bits and pieces, and we will, but it's all going together. It's all the soup that everything goes together into that makes this a rather profound time. And so this is the Virgo season. We had our last solar eclipse at the beginning of the month in Virgo, initiating this lunar eclipse, moon cycle month of purification, of cleaning house, of rectification, of changing things around. Not only physically, not only mentally, not only emotionally, but spiritually as well, in terms of our beliefs, as terms of how we orient ourselves towards our earthly living, our duties at work, our orientation to other people. There's a lot that can change, and there's a lot that we're having to process, and this can be overwhelming. You know, Mercury retrograde, eclipse season, there's so much that's changing around, unexpected realizations, things get turned around during the night. We wake up and suddenly things are different. We realize something differently. We see things from a different perspective. There is a lot to process. And it can sort of feel like we're overloaded, you know, it's like the disposal, it's gotten crammed, and now we've got to, you know, take the plunger and sort of stir stuff up and try to digest all this. So first of all, we need to be very forgiving, very flexible throughout this time. As there's so much that's drifting around, there's so much that is still uncertain throughout these weeks. We just have to sort of let things settle. We have to be very forgiving, very loving, very open to asking for help, and this is also a time that is very much a call to action for many of us to help others. This is Virgo time. We are having the opportunity to restructure and reorientate ourselves in order to be more so a vessel of this divine life, of this divine flow, of this love, of this symphony, which speaks through us, which moves through us, which brings us into contact with others in an inspiring, uplifting, meaningful way. And we have Venus in Libra now. We had Jupiter just move into Libra. These next couple weeks, there is a real opportunity for us to start to form connections, for us to start to really think about, what do I really value? How can I share my values with other people that really cherish and honor the same things that I do? That way we can connect together and start to have this deeper, more meaningful sense of who I am, what I'm doing with life, and how I am orientated to my own home, work, life, everything. So let's talk about some of this astrology that's going on. First of all, we have Mercury combusts the sun today. Retrograde Mercury combusts the sun square to Mars. Yeah, today can be a little bit of a frustrating, overwhelmed, stressed out. So much to process, such little time. So much to do, so little time. So much to do. Distractions, interferences, interruptions, loud noises, etc. This can be like information overload. And at the same time, this is really, having to do with what am I doing? How am I orientating myself, my purpose with what I'm doing in the world? And we're going to talk about how a lot of this time has to do with really changing our own beliefs, our own orientation to our spiritual symbols, inspiration, teachers. And so a lot of this is Saturn square to Neptune. And we just came out of this last exact Saturn-Neptune square that was just a couple days ago, September 10th. And this is the third and final square that they will be making for another, 18 years. And this square has been going on through the last year. Okay. Now these Saturn-Neptune major aspects happen every 9 years. This is a closing square between Saturn and Neptune, which means that the next 9 years through 2026 really has to do with a dissolving. A dissolving of what? Saturn. Authorities, governmental structures, systems, organizations, culture, traditions. Okay? We are experiencing a time of profound authoritative paranoia when we experience these Saturn-Neptune aspects. And we're seeing this in the collective consciousness very much during this time. We're seeing the North Dakota pipeline going on. Saturn, the government, the authority, the oil companies coming down on what? Native American burial grounds. Pisces, spirituality, the essence, the beauty of life. They're coming into contact. Authoritative paranoia. France bans the burkini. Religious, spiritual practice being banned by governmental authoritative principles. Marijuana just got scheduled Schedule 1. Yet again, another plant, kratom, just got made Schedule 1. This means they have no medicinal values. Who are paying for the movements against the legalizations of these plants are pharmaceutical industries. So there is this authoritative pressure and big boy authorities coming down on medicine, spiritual beliefs, spiritual practices, our own free will to be liberated, innocent beings. This is a time where we feel that lack of innocence. And this is what we are feeling collectively. This is a feeling of there being hopelessness. This is the feeling of urban decay, post-apocalyptic crumbling. That's what this time feels like. It feels very claustrophobic and like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Our angels, our guides, they're suddenly missing in action. I'm not really getting my inspirations. My dreams have all been nightmares. I don't feel like my spiritual teachers are there right now for me. And this is a tough time to be a spiritual teacher because our ideals are being challenged. And is anyone perfect? Is anyone embodying God perfectly? Most likely no. And so this is a challenging time. This is where we're seeing our imperfections. And having the opportunity to really embrace them is a part of this, our heart's awakening to the deeper understanding of love, which is the true opportunity going on during these weeks. It is a profound time. It's a time where there's things that can be stripped away. And simultaneously, on this flip side of the fence here, this is a real call to have hearts awakened. This is a spiritually initiating time. And oftentimes, crisis does go hand in hand with this. Really valuing what life actually is, valuing our relationships to one another, valuing our loves, valuing our connections can come about through this time, which really awakens us to the depths of life. But that's Saturn squared to Neptune. It's challenging, particularly for our mutable signs. Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, our philosophers, dreamers, poets, etc. It's challenging. Our ideals are being challenged. We're having nightmares. I woke up from a nightmare this morning that was like a horror movie, being chased by some scary bad guy, and I was crawling through this underground cavern crawl space, and it was all claustrophobic, wriggling through the dark and the murkiness. This is what this time can feel like for many of us. And so again, feeling-wise, it's not very comfortable. Potential-wise, this can go very, very deep. So let's talk about this lunar eclipse, because it is a powerful eclipse. This is a powerful eclipse season. Not all eclipses are the same. First of all, this is going on the polarity of Virgo Pisces, which is a very important polarity, because this is where real change and transformations happens in a mystical way. Virgo is where we start to transform from being egocentric, selfish, driven individuals into being connected to the whole, that is Pisces. Understanding our own individual service that can better not only ourselves but others, and that gives a deeper sense of satisfaction, which comes only through devotional service. Giving our love, giving our gifts back to the collective so we see our own efforts come full circle, help others, spread love. There is no greater satisfaction than that. And of course, Pisces, the final sign of the Zodiac, archetypally represents where we dissolve back into spirit that is love, that is life, that is the divine dance that connects all things. And it is a dissolving, it is a surrendering into that which is beyond rationality, that which is beyond good and evil, that which is beyond pleasure and pain. When we really understand what love, what life, what true ecstasy is, there is nothing that is not included within love, within life. This is what unconditional love means, and this is what the high octave potential of Pisces is that God's love reaches out into all places, and no one and nothing is discluded from this being included in love, in life. Love is not the same as happiness. Love is not completely understood by many, many people that would like to feel good and comfortable. And when we start to step into the ecstasy of unconditional love, that which awakens our heart into possessing this inner flame, this life fills us. We cannot settle down. You cannot go to the background. You cannot waste away your life doing superficial things. This life, this love, this passion awakens us, and it makes us a vessel and a container of that love, of that spiritual force, which then moves through us, which acts as us, and we become much like a marionette to that which was infinitely greater than us. And this is how miracles happen. This is how avatars are born. This is how the saints and the mystics live their life. Is that love, that heart awakening process, is the juice for which the saints and the mystics are always yearning for more of it. Give me more life. Open my heart more. I want more beauty. I want more awakening. And beauty and love is a full spectrum experience. Beauty is not just receiving a birthday cake on your birthday. Beauty is also when our beloveds leave their body. Beauty is also when the forest fire rips down the forest and rebirth happens. Beauty is also what awakens us into seeing our brothers and sisters as being part and parcel of the same thing as us, through sometimes experiencing things that unite us together. And this is a time where potential, painful, uncomfortable, crises-like experiences can really awaken us to the deeper value of life. And for the saints and the mystics, this is asked for. May my heart be shredded open more. So this lunar eclipse is September 16th. It's approaching Friday at 24 degrees of Pisces, occurring at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. This lunar eclipse is square to Mars. is opposite to retrograde Mercury and in conjunct to Venus. So this is a powerful lunar eclipse. And this lunar eclipse is conjoined Chiron at 22 degrees of Pisces. So this is really illuminating the wounded healer archetype, which is this very Piscean, Christ-like archetype in himself. The wounded healer is the actual understanding of this full spectrum love and beauty. That is everything. And it is a shamanic full spectrum process. It is involving going down into the past. This lunar eclipse in Pisces is illuminating the dynamics of the past, which can have a lot to do with collective beliefs and our own spiritual nature, and how accurately we have understood our own spiritual nature. And all of the impurities, inadequacies, fears, and insecurities can be purged out that are interferences in our own comprehending our own spiritual nature, which is innocence. So there can be this shamanic healing process which can involve going down into the past, into the fears, into the insecurities, the discomfort, and the inadequacy of the past age, the last 2,000 years of the age of Pisces, in which there have been many misleading beliefs that have really oppressed us via Saturn, governmental, religious, authoritative structures prevented us from accessing the total innocence of our soul, of our spiritual nature, that we are, that all humans, that all living creatures are. This spiritual nature inherently have this innocence, which is the testament that there is no good or evil people, actually, at the end of the day. There are only human beings living out their experiences, making more or less good or bad choices. But in our inherent nature, we are spiritual souls, which means that we are innocent, which means that we are children of God, and we are part and parcel of God, that which is life, which is love, which is this spiritual blood, which connects and animates all things. And so Chiron brings us into our wounds. This is a time to be made aware of our wounds through feeling them. Yeah, this lunar eclipse is a feeler, particularly for those of us who are sensitive and connected to the suffering of the world, which any awakened heart is. Here's a spiritual misconception. When I achieve enlightenment, I am in a perfect place of happiness all the time. Oh, gung-ho life, everything's happy, happy, happy. I never frown, I never cry because I'm enlightened. Is bullshit. That's not what real enlightenment is. Real enlightenment is awakening your heart and merging back with the whole. So that way you are a vessel of that whole, of that life, and it animates you. But it also means that you are connected to everything. Which means that when you look at the people starving in other countries and you look at the dissolution that's happening even in our own country, to our own next door neighbors, to the animal, to the roadkill across the street, it awakens our heart. We feel the pain and the suffering of other people. When you are more spiritually evolved, the bigger your heart is, the more catharsis you will experience in terms of experiencing the full spectrum, taste and flavor of life, which is not all just fun and games and comforts and massages. No, there's also the heart-breaking experience of seeing other people suffer, of seeing how primordial the world is and how much we limit ourselves and how much we cat of nine tails ourselves more than we need to. It's this heart awakening experience which then choicelessly animates us into being a healer, into being a helper, into being a compassionate soul. So you know, my mystics, my healers, my magicians, you know who you are because you feel this time. And you feel like you're being punished, and you feel like we're being crucified, and we feel all this bullshit. That means that you are a loving soul. All right? It does not mean that you are more evolved when you're, oh, let me sit on top of the thing and give you spiritual advice and read the secret, and you can harness everything and bring all your glory and all your riches into your life. That way your future can be exactly as you imagine it, and you get to do whatever the hell you want to do as a selfish individual. Is not spirituality. Real spiritual understanding, when you awaken your heart, on the other hand, It means that we also get to have time for ourselves because your heart is awakened. All right, we need to take time for ourselves to process, to feel, because we carry a lot. It is a burden. Love. People really, really cut love short. They don't understand it. They do not understand the simultaneous curse and blessing that love truly is. And if you're truly in touch with love, you know what I'm talking about. Because if you truly love any human being, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your children, you know that you will experience heartbreak. The curse and the blessing are the same. The thorn and the rose, they go together. And the saints and the mystics enjoy and love it all. The pain is enjoyable to them. It's ecstatic to them. That's a real transcendental platform that many souls at this time are reaching for. And it is this beauty. When our beloved leaves their body and we experience the pain of separation, that is the most tangible way of knowing our own love for that person. Because you feel that pain most tangibly. That pain is what awakens our heart the most. Okay, the union is also very wonderful. It's when we experience that love, that, wedding ceremony, honeymoon, we're together, everything's blissful. This fills our heart too, but it is the separation which is the most sharp, the most severe, the most poignant, and that's when you know the most how much we truly love that person. And so, if both love and union are in service of love, what does this say about good and evil? What does this say about the horrible choices that people make in the world that lead to more separation, more distortion, leading us away from nature, leading us away from the truth, leading us away from the spiritual, omniscient truth that love is God? There is no division amongst religions. That's bullshit. We know this. We know this in our hearts. What has prevented us from actualizing this in our life? It's the same reasons why Christianity is beautiful, Islam is beautiful, Buddhism is beautiful, and yet look at the church. Look at Tibet, 14th century Tibet. It's medieval feudalism. Look at Christianity, the Dark Ages, the Crusades, the slaughter, the extermination of the Knights of Templar and the Cathars. This is what religious institutions have done and distorted from the essence that is religion, which is simply love. And there is no right or wrong way because love defeats all of these rational, limited aspects of life. Even to the point where the experience of cathartic suffering is a part of the beauty and the love of life. Are we ready for this? This is the spiritual initiation. And for many of us, this can be a heart-opening time through feeling our own connectivity to the world. So Pisces and Virgo are these signs that can be experiences of crisis, of dissolving, of loss, of confinement. Traditional astrology really gives these signs a bad reputation. And yet, when we are really yearning after this more spiritual path, these signs change completely. And Virgo becomes less about crisis, stripping away your own things, and it becomes initiation into doing devotional service, which gives us more satisfaction than anything else in reality. And Pisces, rather than being this dissolving and loss and mystery and having to give up and die, it becomes this transcendence, transcending beyond the limitations of nature. And so this Pisces lunar eclipse conjoined Chiron square to Mars. That Mars is the sword, Aries, right? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac that comes out of Pisces. It's penetrating into life, birth. The umbilical cord gets snipped. We become an individual person. It's that sharp sword of individuality. Square to Chiron in Pisces. This is like the incision that is awakening us, that is removing all that is in the way, which is just garbage, okay? And this has to do with perspective, has to do with lenses. How do we perceive reality is what religion and science and life is all about. There's no actual disagreement here. We should know this by now, and we will soon enough. But it is this removal of, and this incision is an awakening into transcendence, which is really penetrating beyond material nature. Material nature is that there is no beginning or end. There is no, energy is not created nor destroyed. It merely changes, okay? And this is what the Buddhists refer to as samsara, the eternal wheel of suffering. You go around and around and around, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. But Pisces, the opportunity here is for transcendence, which means you penetrate beyond that nature of suffering, and we start to spiral upwards. Transcend, which means that we see the same cycle, but we see it differently. It means something completely different to us. It means something completely different to us. This is a profound time where our own meaning, orientation, this is called ontology, our own philosophical lens, which we use to comprehend reality, has an opportunity to evolve this time in order to be more of service to our own actual health and well-being as we are oriented to our bodies, as we are oriented to the collective in service to other. And this is also a Virgo term. Healthy boundaries, yeah? This is a time where many people are needing to ask for help, many people are reaching out for help, and many people are like drowning, and this is when, it's if we want to save people that are drowning and they're pulling us under and freaking out, it's like we have to actually be able to keep ourselves above water if we're going to be of any help to anybody else. This is life. So this is a time where healthy boundaries is extraordinarily important as well. We want to be creating environments, schedules, systems, diets that make us feel healthy, make us feel more functioning, make us feel more capable. And this month is like, do it. This is the time to do it. This is the time to make these changes, make this revision. Don't make life force it upon us by seeing what happens when you eat too unhealthy, when you go off into the deep end. We talked a little bit about this in the last video. This is Neptune on the south node of Pisces. This is Saturn being square to the moon's nodes, being the collective skipped step. We have work to do. And this work can be really making us feel better in ourselves, in our emotions, our bodies, etc. It pays off. But this is a time where we have to be careful not to slip off the deep end, because this lunar eclipse, Chiron square to Mars, this can create lethargy. This can create, oh my gosh, there's too much to process. Oh, I'm drowning. Let's just flip on the TV. Let's drink another one. I'm just going to sleep through today. And this is called a downward spiral. Watch out for this. Watch out for this. It is a real propensity going on this next, really the end of the year, but particularly right now with this lunar eclipse. Yeah, there's a lot of feelings, there's a lot to process, it doesn't feel good, so we try to fill ourselves up with distractions, with coverings, put these little band-aids over the heart so we don't actually have to experience the awakening. Okay, it is a painful, sword goes in, oh my God, my heart's getting ripped open. This is a potential experience, but what follows this is, heart gets ripped open. What comes out is bliss, is love, is ecstasy. This is the process of Pisces and Chiron. This is the sacrifice, right? We said Chiron's a Christ-like archetype here. Well, this is the whole thing. The authorities say, oh yeah, Christ came here to show us the way, but you can't be Christ. No, you can't be anything like Christ. We are way too messed up to be a vessel of God's love. We're not children of God. When Jesus said he was the Son of God, he's the only Son of God, right? They emphasize only one. Can't do that. Pedestal, you'll never reach that. And so we get cut off from accessing our own potential to be real children, servants of God, which is this heart-opening experience, okay? This experience is like being juiced. We're juiced, all right? The constriction, the confinement, we're being juiced. And this is what happens to our heart. It gets broken down. The spiritual journey is one of breaking down our hearts. It's tilling over the ground, making it soft to make it fertile for the plant of love, of devotional service, which then grows, it blossoms out of us. So first we must experience the incision, the ripping open, the operation, our guts spill out, and then that mystic seed is sown, and that's when ecstasy happens. That's when suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, I was just experiencing something really painful and now I just penetrated to the other side and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's awakening my heart. It's showing me the value of life. You know, it's like, for example, we will all lose our parents at some point in time. This is what time and life forces us to experience. And it's that really painful, no, I don't want to lose you, this is so painful. And then it gets ripped open. Sometimes it's like we resist, and then we die and we get shred open, and then that beauty pours out, that love pours out, and I say, you know what, I am going to cherish my relationship to my children in a way that I've never done before, because I recognize the beauty in life. I'm not going to just sit around and watch TV and drink beers and ignore the interactions, the connections, the life that animates and moves through us all. This is Jupiter having just moved into Libra, Venus still in Libra. This is this real opportunity for us to start forming these deeper connections coming from what I really value, what I really want to share is love, is Venus, right? We're going to have Sun move into the sign of Libra September 22nd. That same day, Mercury stations direct trine to Pluto. Holy moly! We can really make profound realizations throughout these weeks that is then inspiring us to value life more, to form more connections. That's what life is. That's what the divine life that flows through everything is that we are all hand in hand, spinning around life after life, day after day in ecstasy. Ecstasy. And we lose ourselves, we lose our ego. And I don't like to think of the ego being your thoughts and your self-reference. It's just that part of ourself that says, you know what, I don't want to be a part of anything that's bigger than me. It's too much, it's too scary. And this is a month that's really pushing us out of that. Well, there's too much to be done. There's too much to be shared. You have too much wisdom. You're too compassionate, my friends. I'm speaking to all of you. You know who you are. We are vitally needed in this time. Every single day is a gift. Every single second is an opportunity for us to deepen our own spiritual connection, our own connection to other people, etc. And this isn't something that we need to beat ourselves into. Like I said, there's a balance to everything. You know, it's like when we go out there in the world and we help people, say you're a nurse at the hospital, you spend all day long giving yourself. That doesn't mean when you come home you still have to be a nurse 24/7. Self-care must be given to ourselves as well, and that requires the drawing of healthy boundaries. People will manipulate us. People will drain us of our energy, and we, you guys, the loving, compassionate beings, we are the ones that are most prone to this type of manipulation because we have that heart that feels the suffering of others. And then we say, oh no, he's drowning, I'm going to lift him up. Oh no, she's drowning, and then I'm going to lift her up. And then she drowns himself again. Oh, help me. Oh, okay, I'm going, oh, help me. And we can't give ourselves and drain ourselves to people that do not truly want to be helped. We should not be manipulated by people that are just draining us of our energy because they have problems which they are refusing to resolve and waiting for somebody else to do the work for them. That is not what it means to be a spiritual healer, to be crucified and drained by those types of people. It's not possible. It will actually just limit our capability to be a fountainhead of love because it's all being drained away. So, there is a need for setting healthy boundaries. There is a need for us to really come into this healthy, taking care of ourselves too. It means, you know, we're not expected to be saints and mystics today, right? That means that if we need to chill out and just process and veg, give it to yourself. But don't process and veg to the point where you start to go into that downward spiral and it's just, oh, time for another TV show, another movie, we'll just sleep another hour. You know, there is a balance. When we're exhausted, give yourself that time. After you've had that enough time and you start to feel that in-between point where you start to feel the downward spiral and it's just like, well, I'm just going to sit here anyways. It's time to get out. It's time to go on a walk in nature, all right? Saturn is the skipped step here, you know, collectively. Look in your chart to see whatever house Saturn is transiting right now. We want to be doing the work in that house, okay? So say Saturn's in your 7th house, we want to be focusing on relationships. If it's in your 5th house, you want to be focusing on your own creative output. If it's in your 10th house, it's time to really focus on our work in the world, etc. It's really about figuring out how are we going to orient our minds, our bodies, our emotions together. How are we going to orient our collective beliefs, our religious beliefs, our traditions that we were brought up with? How are we going to orient it with the deeper mystical essence of this life in which I'm speaking about in this video, that we are all a part of this innocence, that we are all children of God, that we all have the potential to be Jesus-like figures? Is that integrated with our belief system, with our work in the world, etc.? It doesn't mean you have to be Jesus today. It means that we are aware of our potential and we desire to have that taste of ecstasy, love, and life, because once you have the tiniest drop of what real love is, of what real bliss is, of what God actually is, you lose satisfaction for everything else. And that's when this simultaneous cursing and blessing really starts to make itself apparent, doesn't it? Because then you can't hide anywhere. You are called to action and you can't escape. I must be in love, because if I'm not tasting love, if I'm not offering the fullest of myself, if I'm not reflecting on this deep, divine orchestra that connects everything, I feel like I'm starving. I feel like I'm dehydrated and that I can't survive, and we start to die and crumble and become lifeless. So despite the temporary discomfort, this can be like electroshock bringing life into us. Let our hearts be opened. Let our hearts be turned over by the spade of life. And let this become soft and fertile so we might be impregnating with the mystery, with the divine essence that is. And then this mystery births itself from out of us. This is a time to know miracles. This is a time to witness these things within ourselves. And then we just start to see life happen miraculously. We start to see ourselves reflected in everybody else. Even Adolf Hitler, we see the potential in ourselves. We thank you. Thank you for filling out this. It's incredible that you were able to do this role. Wow, what a difficult thing to do. That you pulled that off, amazing. Thank you for showing my own potential as a spiritual being. Because we are children of God, gifted with free will. Everything is possible. And we are all a part of this playing out, this divine orchestra, this divine symphony, which is a dance of union and separation, which is all in service of us realizing our own nature as the inconceivable, as that which cannot be defined, beyond words, beyond reason, beyond understanding. You can feel it, be it, exist as it, tangibly. It can flow through your veins. It can move through everywhere you go. It can emanate from out of you. It can speak through your eyes, through the smile on your face. It just flows through us, and there's no understanding why. It just is the miracle that is. So this is some deep stuff. Yeah, let's really get into it. Yeah, this is the opportunity here. It is a little heavy, it is a little uncomfortable, but if we see it from this more profound perspective, I think that it can really propel us into October and the end of 2016, when things will be lightening up. And enjoy Venus and Jupiter and Libra during this time. This is a time for us to be sharing and connecting with other people. These realizations that are going on with Mercury retrograde, changes of perspective, this is a time where we can realize, I don't want to be with this person. I don't want to be doing this thing anymore. There is a changing. And you don't have to know right away. Be flexible, be forgiving as this processing is going on. Because once again, the disposal can feel backed up. And so we just got to let it all run through. And so be open to the stuff that's flowing through us. When we close down and we go into sleep land and computer land and escapism land, what we do is we sort of cramp up our body. Oh, I'm just going to drink beer and watch TV for the rest of the night. And then nothing can flow through us. It's like we close the toxins in with us, and I don't want to feel the toxins, so I'm just going to put a big old Band-Aid over myself and just keep it real buried under me. Oh. And we become these cripples. So allow yourself to be opened up. Allow it all to be moved through you. Yes, it's like being on the operation table. Stuff's getting moved around. It's not always It's not always comfortable. But coming out of this time, it's like, Okay, all right, I'm cleared out, I feel free, I feel flexible, I have this spaciousness that I never knew before, and this inspiration can now move through me. Inspiration means 1 foot in spirit, 1 foot in this world, and then we feel good, we feel excited, and then life can move us, and we start to reconnect with other people, and the sun rises and the clouds clear. And this is all a part of the divine dance. When the clouds come, when the clouds part, when the sun rises, when the sun sets. So my camera died. I hope I caught the gist. I'm sorry if I talked too much or it was too redundant. Mercury retrograde combusts the sun, square to Mars, so hopefully it wasn't too much, too overwhelming. This is my new backyard. We've been moving through the last month through this Mercury retrograde eclipse season. It's been real chaotic. We're still getting really settled. You're probably picking up on some sounds. I'm going to hopefully get a microphone for these videos in the future. A lot of people have been suggesting that. So yeah, I mean, it's a real pleasure to connect and share this type of subject matter with you guys. To be able to form groups, to support one another. Sometimes we feel few and far between, so really coming together, supporting one another, it's a true honor to be able to connect with you all, to be able to do astrology readings. I'm always learning. I'm always growing from my interactions with you guys, and I'm oftentimes truly inspired by the people that I'm brought in contact with. So I'm very blessed to be able to speak about this stuff, to be able to participate in this work, and it really is a great opportunity to continue connecting. We've got Venus in Libra through the 23rd. The Sun's going to move into Libra on the 22nd, so we're still got this very collaborative, creative, show and telling, sharing type of energy that's going to be taking us into the future, and the Sun is going to be coming out. Things will be lightening up towards October, November time. So again, it's a pleasure. I am wishing all the best for yourself, for your beloveds. Namaste.